The night was heavy with silence when Marcus leaned toward his wife, Althea, his eyes glistening with desperation. "Babe, please, just this once. Do it for us." Althea's heart skipped a beat. "Do what, Marcus? Don't start again." He swallowed hard. "My boss, Mr. Langston. He said he's willing to give us $500,000 if you spend one night with him." Althea's mouth fell open. "Marcus, are you hearing yourself? You're asking your wife to sleep with another man." Marcus rubbed his forehead, sweat dripping down. "I know how it sounds, but think about it. We're drowning in bills. Our car is gone. The landlord is threatening eviction. This money would change everything. No more struggling, no more living from paycheck to paycheck." Althea's eyes welled with tears. "You would trade my dignity for a check? Not your dignity, our future." Marcus pressed, his voice trembling. "Please, babe, I wouldn't ask if I had another choice." Althea turned away, staring at the cracked ceiling. She had married Marcus out of love, not money. Yet here he was, begging her to sell herself. She shook her head, her chest tight. "I can't," she whispered. But Marcus kept pleading for days, on his knees, at the dinner table, even in bed at night. His persistence wore her down until, broken and numb, she whispered, "Fine, if that's what will save us." The luxury hotel sparkled like a palace. Althea's heels clicked softly against the marble floor as she made her way to the suite. Her stomach churned. She felt dirty already, though nothing had happened. When she pushed open the door, Mr. Langston stood waiting, tall, polished, his salt and pepper beard trimmed neatly. "Mrs. Carter," he said smoothly, "you look stunning." Althea didn't respond. Her hands trembled as she clutched her purse. "Would you like some wine? Food? Money up front," he offered, trying to ease the tension. Her voice was flat. "I don't need anything." Langston's smile faltered. "Then, since you're here for business, shall we?" Before he could finish, Althea lifted her eyes, cold and burning with tears. "Lock the door." He obeyed. "Close the window." He obeyed again. He turned back, curious. "Anything else?" Althea's voice cracked like ice. "Yes. There's one place you haven't locked yet." Langston frowned. "Where?" Her lips quivered. "Heaven." She burst into tears, her whole body shaking. Langston froze. Her words pierced him deeper than a knife. He sat slowly on the edge of the bed, his chest rising heavily. For the first time in years, guilt washed over him. "Althea," his voice was broken. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." He pulled his briefcase close, scribbled on his checkbook, and pressed the slip into her trembling hand. "Here. 500,000. You don't owe me anything. You've just saved me from myself." When Althea returned home that night, her heart felt like it was dragging chains. Her heels clacked against the wooden floor of their townhouse, but the sound was drowned out by Marcus's voice. "Did you get it?" His voice boomed from the living room, impatient, desperate. She didn't even have time to put down her purse before he snatched it from her trembling hand. His fingers tore through the leather like claws until he pulled out the slip of paper that had turned her soul upside down. His eyes widened. $500,000. His voice broke into laughter, wild and unrestrained. "Baby, do you know what this means? 500,000. We're rich." Althea slumped into the couch, her shoulders sagging. She had imagined, perhaps foolishly, that he would look at her first, hold her trembling hands, or at least ask how she was. Instead, his lips pressed against the check, kissing it like a lover. He twirled it in the air, dancing across the living room. "We'll move into a new place. We'll get a car. We'll never worry about bills again. This is freedom, Althea." Do you hear me? Freedom. She watched him with hollow eyes, her voice no louder than a whisper. I hope you're happy now. But Marcus wasn't listening. His mind was already building castles with money. He went on about vacations to Dubai, about starting a business, about luxury watches and designer shoes. He didn't notice her pale face, the mascara streaked down her cheeks, or the way her body shook as though she had walked through a storm. The check had bought his joy, but it had stolen hers. The weeks that followed transformed their lives. Marcus cashed the check, boasting at the bank like a man who had won the lottery. He rented a new car, a sleek black Mercedes, and strutted through the neighborhood as though he were born into wealth. They moved into a townhouse with polished tiles and golden curtains. New furniture arrived daily. The neighbors whispered in envy, "The Carters have made it." Yet every time Althea opened her eyes in the morning, her heart sank. The bed felt colder, though Marcus lay beside her. The smell of money lingered in every room, but the warmth of love had vanished. One evening, as she set down a steaming plate of rice and chicken, Marcus leaned back in his chair, a sly smirk on his lips. He picked at the meat with his fork, then glanced up at her. "You must have enjoyed it," he said casually. The fork slipped from her hand, clattering against the plate. "What?" "You know," he gestured vaguely with his hand. "With Langston. Nobody gives that kind of money for free. You don't have to lie to me, Althea." Her chest heaved. "Marcus, I didn't touch him. I swear to you on my life, nothing happened. He gave me the check and let me go." Marcus chuckled bitterly. "And you expect me to believe that? A billionaire just handed you $500,000 because you asked nicely? Don't insult me." Her voice cracked. "I told you the truth. Why can't you trust me?" But Marcus's eyes had already hardened. Suspicion grew in them like weeds. Soon, he began coming home late. He claimed to have meetings with investors, but Althea knew better. One night, when he finally stumbled in, his shirt smelled of heavy perfume. Another time, she found a lipstick stain on his collar, bright red, nothing like any shade she owned. Her heart cracked piece by piece, but the final blow came on a Saturday evening. She had been folding laundry when the sound of laughter drifted in from the living room. Curious, she walked out and froze. Marcus was sprawled on the couch, a champagne bottle in his hand. Two young women sat on either side of him, their dresses short, their giggles loud. Althea's jaw dropped. "Marcus! In my house!" He didn't even flinch. He looked at her with contempt, his arm draped around one of the women. "Don't act like you're innocent. You sold yourself once for money, so don't you dare preach to me about morality." Tears blurred her vision. "How could you say that? After everything I sacrificed." He took another sip, his words slurred. "You're no saint, Althea. Don't forget where that check came from." The women laughed louder, whispering in his ear as though she were invisible. Althea's legs nearly gave out. She turned away, retreating to the bedroom where she cried into her pillow until her throat burned. That night, she realized the bitter truth. The check had bought them luxury, but it had poisoned their love. The house no longer felt like a home. Every wall echoed with Marcus's laughter when he entertained other women. Every corner whispered of betrayal. Althea, once proud of her marriage, now walked like a ghost through the rooms, clutching memories of a love that had died long before she admitted it to herself. One morning, she stood in front of the mirror. Her reflection startled her. Her eyes were swollen from endless nights of crying, her skin dull, her shoulders slumped. She looked like a woman twice her age. She pressed her hand against the cold glass and whispered, "This is not me. This is not who I am." She thought about the girl she used to be, the hopeful bride who dreamed of a family filled with laughter, not lies. She remembered her mother's words, "A marriage without respect is like a body without breath." That afternoon, Althea began to pack. Her hands trembled as she folded dresses into a suitcase. Each piece of clothing reminded her of happier days, birthdays celebrated together, dinners where Marcus once held her hand, late-night talks about their future. Now, those memories felt like cruel jokes. As she packed, she reached for her wedding ring. The gold band glinted faintly under the light. She slid it off slowly, tears falling onto her fingers. She placed it carefully on the dining table beside a note. The note was short, her handwriting shaky. Marcus, I can't live like this anymore. I gave you everything, my trust, my body, my loyalty. But you gave me suspicion, insults, and humiliation. I hope the money keeps you warm at night, because I will not. Goodbye. She closed her suitcase and walked out the door. The next weeks were the hardest of her life. Althea moved into a small, modest apartment on the south side of the city. The paint peeled off the walls, and the plumbing rattled whenever she turned on the faucet, but it was hers. It was quiet, and no other woman's laughter echoed there. She returned to her nursing job, throwing herself into her work. She found comfort in helping strangers, bandaging wounds, giving medicine, listening to patients who needed someone to care. Every "thank you" she heard from them felt like a balm to her bruised soul. But when she returned home each night, loneliness wrapped around her like a cold blanket. She would sit by the window, staring at the city lights, whispering to herself, "How did love turn into this?" Sometimes, she would cry until she fell asleep. Other nights she would pray, "Lord, please give me strength. Please show me that this pain has a purpose." Meanwhile, Marcus lived extravagantly. He bought more clothes, threw more parties, surrounded himself with more women. But even in his drunken laughter, there were cracks. He began gambling, chasing thrills that drained the money faster than he realized. He drowned in pleasures, blind to the fact that the fortune was slipping away like water through open hands. Althea, on the other hand, was learning to stand again. She took long walks in the park, started journaling her pain, and even joined a support group at her church where other women shared stories of betrayal and healing. For the first time in months, she didn't feel alone. One Sunday afternoon, as the choir sang "Amazing Grace" softly in the background, Althea sat in the pew, tears running down her cheeks. The words pierced her heart. "I once was lost, but now I'm found." She whispered to herself, "Maybe I can be found again. Maybe love is not dead. Maybe respect still exists somewhere." That night, she stood in her tiny kitchen, cooking rice and beans. The air was filled with the smell of simmering onions. She set a single plate on the table, sat down, and ate slowly. No Marcus. No insults. No perfume-stained shirts. Just peace. And yet, beneath the peace, her heart ached. She wondered if Marcus even noticed she was gone. She wondered if he cared. But deep inside, she already knew the answer. Her marriage had ended long before she packed her bags. Leaving was not the betrayal. Staying would have been. For the first time in months, Althea looked into the mirror before bed and whispered, "I am free." It was a rainy Saturday afternoon when fate struck. Althea was in the grocery store, reaching for a carton of milk, when she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Althea!" She turned. It was Langston. Dressed in a navy suit, holding a basket of groceries, he looked more like a neighbor than a billionaire. Her heart pounded. "Mr. Langston." He smiled warmly, but his eyes softened with concern. "How are you?" Althea hesitated. I'm fine." "And Marcus?" he asked carefully. Althea's throat tightened. "We're no longer together." Langston's brows furrowed. "What happened?" She took a deep breath. "Ever since that night, he never believed me. He thought I slept with you for the money. He called me names, cheated, humiliated me. I couldn't take it anymore. I left." Langston's face fell. For the first time, The confident man looked broken. Althea, I'm so sorry. I never imagined this would be the outcome. That night, you saved me from my worst self. Your words, they haunted me. I realized how empty I had become. Althea blinked back tears. It ruined me. Langston pulled a card from his wallet and handed it to her. Please, come see me. There's something I need to say. Althea arrived at Langston's office the following week. The place radiated wealth, glass walls, leather chairs, and a view of the city skyline. On his desk sat a framed photo of a smiling woman. Langston followed her gaze. My wife, he said quietly. She passed away 10 years ago. Since then, I've lived only for business. But that night in the hotel, you reminded me of heaven, of conscience. You changed me, Althea. She shifted uneasily. Why are you telling me this? He looked her in the eyes. Because I want to do right by you. Althea, I want you to marry me. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Marry you? After everything? Yes, he said firmly. Not as payment. Not as guilt. But because you're the first woman in years who made me feel human again. Tears spilled down her cheeks. She didn't answer immediately, but his words sank deep into her soul. Marcus's world crumbled like sandcastles in the tide. He wasted the money on parties, gambling, and fleeting pleasures. When the bank seized his car and eviction notices arrived, he realized he had nothing left. Desperate, he went to Althea's best friend, Monique. Please, he begged, his clothes ragged. Where is she? Monique glared. Why should I tell you? You ruined her life. Marcus dropped to his knees. I just want to see her. Please, Monique. I made mistakes, but I still love her. Against her better judgment, Monique gave him the address. That evening, Marcus knocked on Althea's door. When she opened it, her heart nearly stopped. He looked like a shadow of the man she once loved. Althea, he whispered, tears streaming down his face. Please, forgive me. I was blind. Come back to me. Before she could answer, a voice from behind her spoke firmly. Step away, Marcus. Langston walked in, his presence filling the room. Marcus's eyes blazed. You destroyed my marriage. Langston's voice was calm but sharp. No, Marcus. You destroyed it yourself. Do you even know what happened that night? Marcus spat. She slept with you. Don't lie to me. Langston stepped closer. No, she didn't. She cried. She spoke of heaven. She left untouched. The check I gave her wasn't for her body. It was for her soul. Marcus collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Oh God, what have I done? That night, Althea's past ended. She chose peace over pain, dignity over chains. Langston proposed again, this time on one knee, in front of the woman who had unknowingly saved him. Althea Carter, will you give me the honor of building a life with you? She cried, nodding. Yes. Their wedding was intimate but beautiful. Gospel choirs filled the hall with hymns, ivory roses lined the aisle, and Langston's eyes never left hers. He whispered his vows, to honor you, to cherish you, to never let greed poison our love. Althea felt her wounds healing. For the first time in years, she smiled without fear. Langston treated her like royalty. He gave her not just wealth, but respect. Their home became a sanctuary of laughter, prayer, and trust. And as she lay beside him each night, she remembered the hotel room, the moment she locked heaven in her heart and unlocked a destiny she never expected. Marcus faded into the shadows of poverty, haunted by the ghost of his choices. Althea never saw him again, though sometimes she prayed for his soul. Because he led her to the place where her heart truly belonged. Her life with Langston flourished, not because of riches, but because of love. Her story became a quiet testimony. Dignity has no price. True love cannot be bought.